Hello everybody and welcome to another Jerry's Live workshop. My name is Emmy and I'm your instructor today. So I am very excited about today's class. We're going to be doing something a little bit more fun and funky and something that absolutely anybody can do. You can even do this with your little kids. Now if you don't want to do this with your little kids, that's not required. You can still have so much fun with this process all by yourself. But it's going to be cyanotypes. So we are going to be doing some cyanotype printing, which is essentially printing with the sun. Now, if any of you are aware or have been following the show for a while, you will know that we are on the East Coast and it's getting late here. So how do you sun print without sunshine? Well, I have a lamp back there. So we are going to be using it's actually a grow lamp. So it's actually intended to have UV rays. So if you are in an area where you need to actually have light for your plants and things, this is a really great lamp for them to survive in a not so sunny kind of place. But it's also really useful when you are doing any kind of sun or light kind of sensitive processes. So cyanotypes, this is a really fun kind of process that, a little bit of history, was discovered in 1842. Somebody please fact check me on that. I'm pretty sure it was 1842. But they realized that when you mix the two materials together, which is some iron salts, together it creates a light sensitive process, a chemical that when you apply it to paper or any kind of like a really absorbent kind of natural fiber kind of surface, it reacts with the sun, and whatever the sun touches turns it blue, which is why cyanotypes, because it's blue. This is also actually the reason why we have blueprints, because when they went to go make copies of, blueprints for like building houses and things, they didn't have printers back then, so this was a really easy way for them to actually copy the plans and be able to actually distribute it so people could kind of be on the same page. This is also used for more of a scientific kind of research process, which is more similar to what we're going to be doing today. So they used it for kind of doing an imprint of plants and being able to study them and kind of get the information on a piece of paper that they can then reference back to, which is really, really cool. So the first part of the show is going to be me walking you through the whole process of like cyanotype printing. And then I wanted to, after we come back from the break, kind of go over more mixed media processes and kind of incorporating this into our art process. Whether you're an oil pastel artist, an oil painter, an acrylic painter, watercolorist, you can use all types of things with this. It's so mixed media friendly and it is very fun. So I have on the desk here something I've been actually like picking up and moving around. It's a cyanotype kit. Now this is by Jacquard. This is the cyanotype materials that we sell on our website, JerrysArtarama.com. And of course, if you are interested in any of the materials that I'm using during today's class, you can actually type in today's class code, which is JLW6 in our search bar at the top of the website, and all of these products will come up, and then you can check it out that way. Now, this is a full kit. That way you don't have to have a piecemeal of all types of different things that you would need to do printing. If you get this kit, you are just ready to go. Now, mind you, I've been using this, so I needed to have some things already prepped for you guys. Now, what you have in here is the A and B, and I actually have refill jars. So part A is, I believe, potassium ferrocyanide. Now, that is also, side note, especially if you are planning on doing this with your littles, none of this is toxic. This is all non-toxic. Of course, just because we are playing with things that are not something I would highly suggest you eat. Just don't eat it. Try not to get it on your skin. But if you do, just rinse it off. It's not a big deal. None of this is toxic, but always just be cautious. It's never a bad idea. Anyway, so part A is potassium ferrocyanide. You guys are going to be watching me struggle with words. Welcome to Jerry's. And then part B is ferric ammonium citrate. Now, these two bottles come with the kit, part A, part B. Of course, it also says over here what that is, in case you ever want to just refill these with the jars that come as refills. I believe also on our website we have larger jars that come as like a little kit, but it doesn't come with all of this other stuff. So if you already happen to have this stuff, you can actually just buy these two things. Now the reason why I really love this kit is because part A and part B, they've already measured the amount of materials that you need in here, and then you just fill it up with water. Now, in order to do cyanotype printing, you're going to want to fill it up with water, shake it like a maraca, little shaky, and then you're going to leave it for 24 hours. Now, if you want to shake it on occasion, like if you leave it on your desk and you just shake it as you walk by and then you shake it when you come back over again, that's a great idea. Not a bad thing to keep agitating it, but it does take about 24 hours for these to dissolve in the water. So if you have these and you want to play along with me printing today, I hope you read the instructions, because if you didn't mix it with water, you can't print today. You can print tomorrow. So then also in this kit is a cute little measuring cup. Now, I need to make sure that everybody is fully aware. All the things we use, including these, like, because you could very easily just grab this off of like your medicine bottle, whatever it may be. Everything we use after today stays with our art supplies. It does not go back to any kind of, like if you use a bowl, it is no longer for food consumption. If you use this, it is no longer for medicine. This is now for specifically art supplies. Keep them separate. Again, keep it safe. So it comes with a little measuring kind of cup. It has all kinds of marks on there. I have not been paying attention to it. I've just been using the milliliters. All of the rest of it I've just been ignoring, but it does have milliliters and cc's as well. So if that's something that you are interested in, it's really very useful. Now, before I get to this, it also comes with a marker. Now this is a film marker, and I'll explain this in a minute, but it comes with a hockey brush. Now this is not the hockey brush it comes with. This is the hockey brush that I also added to the teacher's cart in case you, like me, used your brush, forgot to rinse it out, and then it just became a mess. So I replaced my hockey brush. Obviously I've been using this one, but I've been remembering to rinse it off, so it's still very fluffy and soft and usable. But yeah, if you do happen to destroy your hockey brush, I also added additional hockey brushes into the teacher's cart, so you guys can just replace them as needed. They're very inexpensive and very useful with this process. I just happen to use the 1.5 inch one. You don't need a large brush for this. But in this little corner here, something that I quite love are these little binder clips. This is going to be useful for when we are holding everything together. I'm also take this out. And underneath here is the stuff I've made a mess with. You have a piece of glass and a backer. Those two will go together. And then you have a pile of paper and clear film. Now this film does look a little milky. I do believe there is a film on top of the film, so you need to remove that in order to get a nice clean, crystal clear piece of film. But this is meant to draw on top of this film so that we can print with that. Now I will go over that process a little later. I'm not actually going to use the paper that they have in here, even though it is absolutely gorgeous paper. I am going to potentially just use this and the bottles, and I'm going to probably just toss this off to the side, the little marker. Everything else I'm going to put off to the side because I don't technically need it, because I have other options. In case, again, if you get the kit and you run through all the paper, I wanted to show you other options that you can grab. I'm going to just take that off to the side. Okay, so one other thing to note about the A and B, and also all the jars that they come with, even the larger version, they are not transparent at all. you need to make sure that you are not putting your solutions into any kind of transparent bottle, because this is a photosensitive process. Any light that touches this, it will start to damage the materials, and you need it to be in a very light blocking kind of bottle. So that's why all of the jars that you get, this is powdered form, by the way. So this is, and if you are interested in filling, like refilling these with these, the instructions are on the back. All you have to do is just follow that instructions. You're good to go. But I have been printing like crazy, and I've just been using these little guys. I have not refilled them, and I still have a good amount left, which I'm going to use during today's show. So a little goes a long way, and you don't need to refill that for very long, or very often. Now, the other thing to note, the powdered form, I do believe, stays good for years and years and years and years and years. It's very safe. It's very kind of stable. It won't have any kind of reaction. If you keep it in a nice, cool, dark place, like in the jar, that's not just in like your car, in this heat, it'll be totally fine for years. Once you mix it with water, I do believe it is good for, I would also double check Jacquard's website just to triple check, but I do believe it is good for 1 to 2 years as separate solutions. Once we mix them together, and it is a 1-to-1 ratio, so I'm going to mix even kind of amounts, even parts. Once you mix them together, it is good for a couple hours to maybe 48 hours maximum if you're in like a dark room. So it's one of those things that once you mix them together, you want to use it. And it's not one of those things that you can save it for later unless you keep them in separate bottles. So I'm going to also be using Magnani. Now, I had the paper that came with the kit. It is amazing paper. It is delightful. It is wonderful. I'm going to be using Magnani just because I've been printing so much. So I needed more paper. The thing when it comes to surfaces, you want to get a natural fiber. You want to make sure that it is very absorbent. And you honestly probably want to make sure that it doesn't have any extra stuff added to it. The more sizing that you have in your watercolor paper, the harder this process is going to be. This is a really beautiful 100% cotton paper. So it is a natural fiber. It is amazing quality. And on top of that, I have the mixed media paper, and I have Pescia. The Arte Moderna is the mixed media paper. Pescia is their drawing and printmaking paper. So they're both 100% cotton, but with Pescia, it comes in not only white, but it comes in gray. And then actually, I believe, sorry, this is white, this is cream. And then a blue, and then kind of a sandy kind of beige color. So you get all of these beautiful colors in a paper that you can use. So I'm going to use a little bit of a larger version. I'm going to put that off to the side. Now, of course, if you guys do have any questions throughout the process, feel free to ask them. I have my amazing moderator, Amanda, in the chats, so she can ask me live while we're here. And if you are watching in the future, you can always add it as a comment, so that way I will always go back and double check and make sure that I answer your questions. Now, I have been just doing like a 2.5 milliliter and then going up to 5 milliliter once I do the 2 parts. Because I'm only coating 1 piece of paper, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna actually probably just use the measuring markers on my little pipette and try and get an even amount. Okay, because you really don't need a whole lot. You know what I didn't realize though, until just now, probably don't want to use this pipette in that right there. Ming, can you grab me another pipette? I'm so sorry. I don't want to contaminate this jar with this pipette, and I only grabbed one. It's in ABC order. It's under the tools, nope, right by, you see the last row with labels? Yeah, perfect. This is why we label everything in the studio. No, do we have a question?
Yes.
Perfect. While I'm adding in equal parts of B, because I'm just doing 0.5, whatever this is, milliliters. Go ahead, ask your question.
Yes, so we see that in the supply list you have glass, but would plexi work if you already had that?
Yeah, it would. Honestly, that was too much. The reason why I have glass in there is because I wanted the backer as well as the glass. So if your plexi also has a backer, you're good to go. The reason why we're going to be sandwiching everything together. So you know what? I'm going to make sure that I write down or separate those. A and B pipettes are on the right side. Okay, so I have literally like the tiniest little amount in here. It's insane. And I have just a little disposable tray. You can use whatever you want. I also have for the studio those little glass jars. You really do not need anything too fancy. Just something that is not for food and is easily something you can just like dab this up with. Now, you can see my brush just absorbed all of that. Hopefully I made enough. I probably didn't. And if I didn't, that's okay. I can make more. But you also really don't need a ton on your paper. A light coating will do. And yes, it is a weird yellow. It is a very, very funky yellow. And yeah, I definitely don't think I made enough. It was so close. Maybe. All right. No, because I'm not actually going to be using, well, I might be using this. We'll see if we have time for this one. I'm going to actually just leave that. I think that's pretty coated. Normally I would have a lot more in here and I would coat several pieces of paper. Now, I am in a room with a lot of lights around me. I was going to, as an experiment, just leave this on the table. See exactly how much this exposes. Now, I do want to have something on it just to make sure if it is exposing, I can see just how much over the course of this entire show. But that is the process of toning your paper. Now, you can go completely all the way to the edge. That's not a thing that you have to do, is like leave an edge. You can also tape it if you really want to. You could just do like a swipe right down the middle, but you're going to want to tone your paper in a nice even coating. No puddles, because puddles aren't great. You don't need a ton of the material on there. It is fluid like water, so just a quick wash is all you need. Now, I'm going to actually, I don't know if you guys can see the flowers just peeking in here. I'm going to just leave a little flower on top, and I'm going to put this off to the side, somewhere off to the side. I have too many things on the table. I'll move this over because this is something I'm going to need. And I just want to see exactly how much that exposes throughout the entire class. Now, one thing I want to note with exposing is that you want to let that dry. You can technically start exposing it while it's wet. I have done that, and I haven't really seen a huge difference between if you let the paper dry and if you don't. But if you do let the paper dry, it kind of turns a bit funky, which is okay. Now, if you let this sit, and I just have it in one of my viewpoint boxes because I know this is completely blocked out from light. It is a clamshell box. It is completely sealed. It is no light's getting in there. Now, if you let this sit for a very long time, it starts turning darker. Now, I have noticed that, here, I'll show you. I wonder if I have another. I've done so many prints, guys. Where is, I need one on a white piece of paper. Okay, well, that's a really good example too. I need a crispy, clear, okay, here we go. So if you let your paper sit for a very long time, now this is older, I toned these about a week ago. and they've been sitting in a completely sealed box the entire time. I haven't really opened it. It's just been there. Now, if it starts turning darker blue, this is still the process and it still works, but you can see like this is a really bright piece of paper. Where I had it blocked, it's kind of almost like a lighter shade of blue. Sometimes it leans a little purple, which is really fun, like this. This is what happens when you let your paper sit for too long. I would suggest that if you want something that is nice and crispy and nice and bright, you use the paper either the next day or the day after, like just a couple of days later. After about 3 days is when it starts to turn and get a little funky. So it's just one of those things to kind of note. If you are going to do this process, then prepare for that. And yes, I do have Circle Magnani as well, because I figured that would also be fun. So I have a piece of paper that is toned and ready to go. And I need to put something down on the top of it for exposing purposes. Now I'm going to actually, I do love how sturdy this backer is. There's not really much flexibility to it, that maybe ever so slightly. I like how sturdy this is though, but it's on the smaller side, so like this whole piece of paper would take up that whole area. So when it comes to this, I kind of liked having the glass as well because it's larger and I can potentially do 2 pieces at the same time. So let me actually grab one of my older pieces of paper and a newer one. We're going to expose them at the same time. So we're going to do this. Now we need things to put on top. I have flowers. So many flowers. Yes, I might have gone a little ham on this. I regret nothing. These are flowers for me, and I deserve them. Sorry, I just hit the microphone. Hopefully that wasn't loud. But I'm going to actually just take, instead of flower, this really fun palm frond. Whoever knows what plant this is, let me know in the comments. Oh, we have a question. I just realized. Sorry. What is the question? Oh, we don't. Okay. Sorry. The question light is still on. It's all good. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. So I'm going to use my leafy on this side. And that looks good. I'm going to take these over here. And then I'm going to put something else over here. Now, I wanted to do something that's a little bit more three-dimensional. And then I'm going to do something that is a bit more of a mess. Now, yes, this is a scrapbook, and it's one of those old school scrapbooks that have like the sticky pages, because this is all dried, pressed flowers that don't ask why I have so many. I don't want to talk about it. But I'm going to use a couple of these, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a couple of the big flowers. I have tweezers because like this is not easy to move around. Hopefully I can pull this up off the sticky pages without having too much of the damages. Actually, you know what? We'll go with something a little bit smaller. Something a little bit more three-dimensional is easier to pick up. We'll just use quite a few of these. This will do. And yeah, if it sticks to the pages, that's okay. Who's gonna know? All right, I think that's probably good for now. All right, so I'm gonna do this just like this, and I'm not gonna sandwich it. I'm gonna also have this underneath the glass, and I am going to sandwich it. This is why I have tweezers, because otherwise trying to pick that up is impossible. All right. And we're just gonna toss them on there like we have a composition in mind. I don't. If you just want to experiment and have fun, that is absolutely great. It's not the end of the world if you end up making a print that you don't love, because we're gonna do some mixed media on top, and then we can always do some more things. But I'm going to sandwich that to where it's nice and flat. And then I'm going to leave this over here. And, all right, quick question. Should we add flowers to this as well? Michaela immediately said yes. Okay. I feel like flowers are pretty and it needs a moment. This is really wet, sorry. Okay. Maybe something like that. Now, this is going to fall off, so I am going to actually cut these. Again, I got these flowers literally for this, and there's going to be plenty more for me to have at home. For my cat to try and eat, you know. Love this for me. Don't know why I'm making my life harder. But, okay, so I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to take that off of there so that it doesn't expose. I'm going to have one that is not squished down and flat, and then I'm going to have one that is very squished down and flat. You're going to see a difference in the exposure and kind of how crispy and not crispy it is. And I'll show you an example here in a second, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to go bring it back to my light, and we're going to start exposing this in the studio, which is wild. You know what? I need you to not fall down. Okay, pick that up a little bit higher. Now, I try to make sure that my light is really, especially if you're using a grow light, kind of right above it. It doesn't need to be touching or anything, but I need it to be stable before I turn it on, because once you turn it on, it starts exposing, and I don't want to move it, because if you start moving it, you will potentially have double exposure, which if you want that, it's cool. If it's not intentional, it's a little frustrating. So I'm gonna just turn this on, and everybody avert their eyes. And I'm talking about the people in the studio. You guys on the on the internet, you're fine. You can actually look at it. It's not gonna hurt you because you're looking at it through a camera. So that is the process that essentially we have to do. We've coated it, we're exposing it, and I need a timer, because that is the other process, part of the process, I should say, is that timing your exposure. I just gave myself a 10-minute timer, and this is where I wanted to kind of show you guys some things. So if you expose it for a very short amount of time, you get not a whole lot of detail. And this was also the first time I experienced the paper that had been sitting for a very long time. So I was just experimenting. I was trying to figure out how this process worked, and I had a failed print, and that is okay. I can still paint on top of this and have a really fun textured background. Like, I think it was baby's breath that was on there. Now, I also had one that was way overexposed. So the longer you let it sit in either the sunshine or your grow lamp, whatever it may be, the darker it will get. Now, what that time will be, I can't tell you exactly how long to expose it for. The reason why is because where you are on the earth and how direct of sunshine you get, and then on top of that, like how intense the sun is, and if it's a cloudy day, all of these things will affect your exposure time. So if you are, because it is summertime, we're getting a lot of sun. If you're in a really bright, sunshiny place, sometimes I only left it out there for 2 minutes, and that was in actual sunshine, not the grow lamp. And that was these. Not gonna lie, this one actually I forgot about completely. So this is also something that can happen. You can completely forget about your prints, and then they'll just be really, really, really dark blue, which is kind of cool, and it still works. But that's why I set myself a timer. It's kind of a fail-safe, really helps to not have a problem. But that is the biggest difference. And you can also do a test where you have 4 of these on or like a long strip of cyanotype, and kind of have something covering most of it, something that will block the sunshine or the light completely, and then expose one section for 2 minutes, and then start taking it back and just having the different time segments kind of calculated that way. Now, that lamp is going to be consistent. It's going to be consistent pretty much every time. which is really nice, and that's why I know I just need to take 10 minutes. Now, if you don't have the lamp and you want to get one, you can just look up grow lamp. Jerry's doesn't sell them, but they're readily available online. Now, I did want to also show a couple of experiments because it gets a little funky, and this is where we're going to actually use this as well. A little funky when you start playing around with other things, because you can incorporate other materials into this and get some weird results that are, not gonna lie, hard to predict. But if you keep experimenting with this and keep playing around with it, you can get more and more consistent results. And once you know kind of what you're looking for, it works really well. Now, what I wanted to show you, and I'm gonna need this up here soon, because I also need paper towels soon. We'll talk about that later. So what I wanted to show you were these. These are my little experiments, because I wanted to show you what happens when you incorporate other things. So I have cyanotypes with all kinds of materials that I've incorporated. So we have bubbles, which is really fun. Now, the soapy water tends to bleach out the cyanotype, which is why this got really bright, and wherever the soap wasn't is still nice and dark blue. But you do get that like bubbly texture, which is really cool. So what I did is, did I leave my, I did. I left my soapy jar of soap water over by the sink. Michaela, can you go grab that? Sorry, there's a lot of stuff that I have on the table and I forgot that. So what I did is I actually just had a cup, a plastic cup of soap water, and I just used dish soap and tap water, and you just use a straw to like blow into it. And then, actually, Michaela, can you also grab me a straw? I forgot that too. But that's how I got the bubbles. It's really fun. And then I will show that as well. Then I have rock salt. Now, rock salt is literally just rock salt. I tried to find at the grocery store one that had like the biggest chunks that I could find. And then it also is a grinder, so I can break it up even more. But that is where the big chunks of rock salt were. And then here's the little chunks, which is so fun. Now, I also, in order to make this happen, one of two things. You can either apply the salt while it's drying, like as soon as you put the cyanotype solution onto your paper, so it starts to pull that solution into itself, because it's rock salt, or salt in general, it's thirsty. It wants to soak up whatever moisture is around it. So it's pulling that towards it. So that is one way that you can do that. The other way is that if you take a piece of paper like this and then you spray it, thank you, with water. Appreciate it. I like how you gave me straw options. All right. Bubbles. I'll do this in a second, but I am going to bend it because we are fancy. Okay, so rock salt. The other thing I did was I spritzed it with water, and I do like the aqua mist for this because it doesn't give me a ton of water. It is a fine mist, and it is kind of easier to sort of control. But that's where I put the rock salt on top of it after it's fully dried, and then I got it wet, and then I put the rock salt on top. That is that. And then white distilled vinegar. This one was interesting because it doesn't quite bleach it out, but it also moves it around way more than water. So it just leaves these kind of like odd little drops. Just something interesting to know. And what I did is I actually just put it in one of our little spray bottles here, this Soho spritzer bottle, so that now I can just spritz it. It is vinegar, so if you are opposed to the smell of vinegar, that might not be something you want to use. Now, the other thing I have is 70% and 91% isopropyl alcohol. this is where I was a little curious because I've heard that you can get darker spots with it, which is odd because that is 100% what I did here. Now, this one was, I can sort of see a little bit maybe here, but this was where I spritzed it, I let it dry, and then I brought it out into the sun. Because it's isopropyl alcohol, it evaporates really fast. So what I also did is I had this already exposing in the sun, and then I spritzed it while it was on there, in the sun getting exposed. So I think that's kind of the way that you have to do it to get those darker spots. I wanna say I used the 70% isopropyl alcohol on this. Did I notate it down? No, I did not. So it's one of those. But I will say I definitely did see more on here with the 70% than the 91%. The 91% is just, there is no difference whatsoever. Now, I also have heard of turmeric being used as a kind of similar process to this. And I'm also going to just do that so they're not as exposed. Turmeric and me I have mixed feelings about turmeric. So turmeric is not a cyanotype. It is anthotype, I believe, is the word for it. So when you print with cyanotype, whatever you're blocking does not go blue. You print around it, right? You're blocking out whatever is the brightness of the paper. So like I put a flower down, wherever the flower was, it is now no longer exposed. Turmeric is the opposite. So you put turmeric and isopropyl alcohol, I think, is the combination that is widely used. When you mix those two together, you get like a yellow solution. You put that on here and you print it. Actually, I do have an experiment that I did. This is the best I could do, and I didn't have the patience for it, and I know that there are people that can print better than me with the turmeric solution, but I didn't have very fun. I struggled with this, to be honest. Oh, hey, timer went off. This is why I have a timer. But you can see, and I'm gonna let it expose a little bit longer. It's not a big deal. Wherever I had the flower actually printed yellow, and wherever the sun hit it, went kind of, the sun kind of bleached it a little bit. Now this took hours. This took a couple minutes. This is why I didn't have the patience for this. I also have heard that there's a way of getting it to go like a dark mauve-y pink or something, and I, again, did not have the patience. If somebody in the comments has the information for turmeric printing, please share it with the class, because I could use that help. But I did do some experiments, though, where I had the 91% isopropyl alcohol and turmeric, again, in a spritz bottle. It just honestly stained my paper. And then I did soapy water and turmeric because I was really trying to get it to work. Also just kind of stained it, and the soap, again, bleaches out the cyanotype. So those were my experiments. Now, before I keep going with that, I need to go grab this print. Now, we're gonna actually, we have a bucket and a tray here, and we're gonna be over here working with that for just a minute. But actually, I'm gonna grab this, turn it off, and before I rinse it, I actually am going to bring it back over to the table because I want to show you what it looks like before I move everything around. Okay, let's go to that overhead camera because this is the fun part. Ta-da! So this is kind of what I was worried about with the flowers, that it just kind of looks like a weird blob. But you can see the part of the leaf that was sticking up, it doesn't really block the sun or the light as much as like those little crispy edges where you can definitely see where it was touching the paper. So this is going to be super crispy. This was not, and I definitely had some of that leaf kind of come over, which is okay. But we're going to rinse this now, and we're going to be in the bucket here. Okay, so this is the part where it starts to change. Oh, and this is what we were looking for. It kind of goes almost like brown, but as soon as you start rinsing it, it starts to change to blue. Now, you do want to kind of keep agitating it in the water. Yes, you can also just rinse it in running water. And the materials that we're using today actually is found in food. So if you rinse it down the drain, it's not going to harm our water system. Sometimes it's used as like an anti-caking agent in food. So don't panic about that. But now that we've rinsed it, you can start to see that blue come off. And the water's turning yellow because the areas that didn't get exposed, that solution, the cyanotype solution, is rinsing out of it. Now, here's the part that gets kind of magical. If you leave this, it will continue to darken over the next 24 to 48 hours. Now, I have a cheat sheet method here that'll just darken it immediately, which is so fun. And that's magic right there. So what I have in this tray, and I am going to rinse it off one more time just to make sure that I get all that off. What I have in the gray tray is a solution of water and hydrogen peroxide. No, I did not measure it. I literally just eyeballed it, but that's what the hydrogen peroxide kind of exposes this and hydrogenates. I cannot word today, but it turns the blue darker and it makes that process go by faster. So now we have a fully exposed print. Ta-da! Cyanotypes. It's so fun. And this is, again, something so easy that you can do this with your little kids. Like, have them arrange it. You do need to probably have the paper prepared for them and then do all of that and let it dry. Whether you let it dry in like a closet or a cabinet or whatever, and then have the paper just ready to go for them. But when you do rinse it, you want to really make sure you rinse it, because if you leave any of that solution on here, it will continue to expose on the paper. So I hopefully rinsed it enough, but we're going to let that be as is. Now, I do have some paper towels here. I am just going to blot it real fast and dry my hands off. Definitely helps get some of the water out. But again, if you don't have the hydrogen peroxide, you can just leave it and it will go this dark just over time. There we go. Ta-da! We did a cyanotype together. A cyanotype inside the studio. I love that. All right, so the next one, we're ready? We're gonna do the same thing, although this one should be a little crispier. And this one's a little bit easier because I can just, ta-da, easy peasy. So I'm going to rinse this off just the exact same way that I did that. And ready? This is magic. This is the magic part. But yeah, you can see it starts going, instead of that yellowy color, it starts going like almost like a brownish blue. And then as we rinse it, it starts happening. Now, I'm not entirely sure if the peroxide that I have in that other bath is going to make its way in here, and that might start affecting it depending on how many, prints we rinse. But that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Again, this is all just kind of experimentation and just having fun with it. I think that's it. That looks great. Now, this is the one that we had sitting for kind of a while, and you can see where the flowers were. It's not as bright white as the paper. Like, that paper is really bright. Those flowers are kind of blue. That's from it just sitting for too long. But again, I don't hate it. It's not a bad thing. It's just one of those things that to be aware of. Ooh, magic. Yeah, you can see where I definitely had that, the leaf kind of went over. And you can almost see the hydrogen peroxide bubbling up and trying to sort of almost like attack that solution. It's really bizarre, but it's very fun to see. And then I'm gonna rinse that off as well. Try and not get water all over our studio here. There we go. Now, this is one of those things that you have to be aware of that, yeah, they're really pretty flowers, but because they are pressed, they're pretty dense. And this is one of those things that you're not gonna get, like, you get really insane detail when they're that flat, but if you don't have little breaks and openings in them, they just kind of look like blobs, which is okay, because again, we can go back in with mixed media and draw something in the middle. That's not a big deal. So this is something that you could incorporate. And if you think it's a failed print, save it with mixed media. It's one of those things that there's no such thing as a bad print with cyanotypes. I feel like you can continue to do really fun things. Even if you expose the entire thing and the whole thing's just blue, cut it out and collage it. You can do that. All right, let's blot this one. I feel like I'm gonna go through so many paper towels. All right. Now, if you want, you can also just kind of pick it up, turn it around, blot some more. This definitely helps get a lot of that moisture out. And as your prints are drying, because this is paper, just kind of similar to like watercolor paper, it might start warping a little bit. I mean, you can see some of mine here. They're not like insanely flat. That's okay. I can press these into a book or even use like an iron to iron them down. It will completely flatten that back out. It's not a big deal. But there you go. We did a couple of cyanotypes. So fun. Again, I've been printing a lot. You can ask Katie. She's been laughing at me for how much I've been printing. It's so much fun. Now, I want to get the flower bits off of my table. I'm going to put this back over here, trying to get things out of the way. So the last thing I want to show you, as far as my little experiments are concerned, is what happens if you drip part A and part B onto an already toned surface. I honestly, after doing this, had the thought of, I wonder if I just coat the surface with that one and part B without it being mixed, what would happen? I honestly don't think it's going to be anything really fun, but this is part A over here, and this is part B. Part A, bleached it out and almost kind of dyed it yellow, and part B went kind of that purpley blue, but like really dark. And you can even see where I was blocking it with the little leaf. It did not matter. It still was affected on both sides. So just something fun, but like, I was curious. This is all about experimentation. It's for funsies. Now, I am curious also about other surfaces, because we are curious cats, and we're gonna do that. Now, I did show you, I had a couple of round circles. The Magnani does, this is the watercolor paper. Again, it's 100% cotton. It really takes this quite well. I did go fully all the way around, and I did quite a few of these. This is 5 minutes under the light. This I don't know because I forgot about it. Again, give yourself a timer. It's a really good thing. But you can see that this is something I also wanted to show you. Some of the flowers, like the daisies, had little openings in kind of just right around the little center parts, and just that little bit of opening really makes such a difference when it comes to like printing and doing the sun exposure, because it does go through. And even the tiny little details here, you can get such detail with this. It is insane, which is why I understand why they were using it for like bio research. Now this, because I exposed this for such a long time, This happened to be really thin, delicate flowers that the light can go through. So this also happens with like really thin, like white petals. White flowers tend to really do this, but like I'm pretty sure these, if I really exposed it for quite a long time and had these flattened, they would probably do the same thing. Just because that petal is so delicate, the light would potentially go through them. So wish I could tell you how long I exposed this for. It's probably like 40 minutes, honestly. I really forgot about these. And this was under the grow lamp. So it wasn't outside. It wasn't exposed to the elements, but it was definitely one of those things where I was running around the studio doing something and all of a sudden went, oh no, because that is also part of the process, right? But those are the circular watercolor papers. I really love these. I think these would look really amazing, matted and framed. I have so much art to matte and frame now. It's a little insane. I also did a little artist trading card because I thought it was super cute, and I also put it in a little crystal seal bag. So this is just a little baby's breath, and I did the bubbles so that way we could get a little experiment there. And this is the more awkward one. This one I'm obsessed with, and I don't know what to do with it beyond this. And I could really use your help because I really want to continue to do something on this. I just don't know what I want to do yet. So any ideas are very welcome. But this is our Da Vinci birch wood circular panel. They also come in oval, which would be really pretty. How many of these do I need? Can you tell I'm obsessed? But what I did is I also took the dried flowers, put them kind of going into the center of this, and you can see some of them had that moment where like the light went through them and got this really pretty detail. Some of them had a little bit less, but I love this so much. I just don't know what to do with it now because I want to add to it. Ideas, please help me. But that is the wood panel, so you can do this process on wood. Again, it is a raw birch, so there's no finish or anything on this. I want to make sure that you guys know that. So raw wood is an option. And then I did a couple of fabrics. So this was canvas, just I think this is the 12-ounce cotton duck. It's just a pretty standard cotton canvas. It is raw. There is no sizing or priming on these. So what I did is I toned them, and toning an unstretched version was a little bit easier than toning the stretched version, even though this is the exact same canvas. I literally just cut this from the same roll that this was stretched from. There's something about stretched cotton that just didn't want to take the cyanotype solution. It just beat it up on top, and it was really difficult to get it to absorb, but you know, I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed, and I got it in there enough. But you can kind of see how like there are some little spots that are like just not blue, which is okay. Again, I can paint on top of this now. Now this one was more of an experiment to just make sure that it's the exact same process with cotton or like canvas or fabric in general. Again, I didn't try this on synthetic fabrics at all. This is literally a very organic cotton material. So this is the exact same process, but this one just absorbed a little bit better. I think probably because I could move it around and kind of like scrub it in a little bit. But it worked really well. And again, I kind of did the exact same thing where I had everything kind of coming in, which was really fun. And then I had a little spiral, which was delightful. I just wish that was darker. All the things. This is, again, experimenting. But I also really want to do this to a dress now. So if I'm never just in a cyanotype dress, you know I did this. Okay, so I want to do a couple of the experiments with the weird stuff and have that exposed and walk you guys through how I did that. Now, soapy water that I completely forgot off camera. You can just take a straw and kind of just flick it around. You can also do this with a fork, which is really nice. It starts to build up bubbles. More soap probably would make this go by a little faster, but that also works. And I'm going to just kind of take that and blob it on. Now, wherever I place the bubbles, most likely is going to bleach it out because remember, soapy water. Now, I'm going to actually just take this, get this wet, and put some salt on there. I'm going to do a bit of both, the ground salt and the chunky salt, because this is fun. And then I'm going to, do we do daisies? I feel like daisies are a good option. Just kind of put a couple of things here and there. Again, not really a plan, just kind of winging it. It's where the rock salt lies is just where the rock salt lies, you know? But I have some daisies. These are really cute. Are these daisies? These are daisies, right? I know my flowers. But what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to take them off and I'm going to kind of pop them in with a little leaf, maybe. That's cute. Same thing here. Put that up there. And then this guy, and maybe one more. I feel like I'm just destroying flowers. Okay, now this is where it becomes a little difficult because I want to crush this a little bit more. And also, while I was preparing my flowers for my vase, I did steal quite a few leaves off of the bottom of the stems to get that into the vase. Vase? How do you pronounce it? And then I am just going to keep those and toss them on here sort of willy-nilly. I just want to have sort of a base of leaves where my flowers kind of come out like that and stagger it. Now, I'm going to crush this down, but with three-dimensional flowers, it becomes a little problematic because they're not flat. So this kind of takes a little bit of getting used to, whether you go up like that and crush it. But this is where also having other little tools around, thank you for the extra straw, kind of helps. You can sort of push it. There we go. I like that better. Now, I'm going to use my little clippies because this is where it becomes slightly problematic that it doesn't want to be flat, and I am going to crush them. So flowers were harmed in this process. I'm sorry. I'm going to take my clips, and this is why I like this one, the backer of this one is so sturdy, because the backer on the glass that comes with the backer that I added to the teacher's cart, that one is a little bit more like corrugated cardboard, so it has some flexibility to it. It does still work, but it's one of those things that I think the harder the backer, the better this works. That one's looking kind of wild. I'm gonna let it be. We're too far in this now. But I'm gonna clip it on all four sides. Now, this one I did not clip it as far in as possible because if I had, it's going to be overlapping in that little spot. If I do that, it will not be exposed and that will be a problem, and I will have a weird clip mark on my paper. But I'm gonna expose these now and see how that works. So we have bubbles and we have our wet with rock salt. So I'm very excited about this. And again, going to put it over my lamp, and then we're going to set a timer because I cannot be trusted. ADHD is strong. Whew, that one glows. Kind of wild. I am going to pull it down a little bit further. But there you go. Ready to be exposed. All right, timer. Again, ADHD. It's not a good combo. Okay, timer for 10 minutes. We're going to let that go. Now, actually, how about this? Do you in the comments want to see it exposed for less time, more time, or the 10 minutes? The same amount of time as I had the other ones. Let me know. Now, while that's exposing and that is drying, I'm going to move this out of the way, show you a couple other options, like that film that we had earlier. This is going to be really fun because I have a couple options of examples on how I've done this. But Duralar. So the kit comes with film. And yes, it does have a weird film on film. You have to take the film off so that it's nice and clear. Sorry. Duralar is just clear film. So it does have glycine in between the pages. If you try to print with this, yes, light can get through it because it is not completely dense. Could be kind of cool. I don't know. You can experiment with it. Why not? But this is Duralar. So this is a clear acetate, completely clear, just a piece of plastic. What I love about this is that it's reusable over and over and over again. So I did add this to the teacher's cart. It is in there. Now, a couple things that I have done with it, and you've probably been seeing me pull things from over here. I drew a butterfly. This is going to be really hard to see. Hold on. There we go. I've been throwing these dried flowers all over the whole studio, so they're probably everywhere. But I drew a butterfly. Now, wherever I draw is going to be white, and wherever is exposed is going to be a dark blue. So I tried to draw the opposite of what I wanted. What I did is I actually just took a photo of a butterfly and then inverted it it was black and white photo. I inverted it, so I got this kind of image. And then I just took the marker that was available and drew it. Now, this marker is quite markery. It's not a very fine point. So as much as I like this, and it's very dense, and it gives you a really solid dark black, I also added this to the teacher's cart. This is Identapen by Sakura. It does have a sort of bullet point, but it is a lot finer than that. But it also has a very fine tip as well. These are also very solid. So these two will give you a very dark, dense black that will block pretty much most of the light as long as you get a good coverage. Then I also had a weird Tombow marker that was just lying around. Any Sharpies will also work as well because they are not super dense. Now, that's what you're actually seeing right here, is that it's like a black that is not really, really dark. You can see the dark black over here. That's the difference. So this is going to allow some light to come through, not as much, but this is going to completely block it. Now you can also see, where did it go? Again, I might have printed a little too many times. I printed too close to the sun. Somewhere in here is a butterfly. Yeah, here we go. This is one that I actually had on the show a little bit earlier. Can you tell there's a butterfly there? I printed it. I don't think I exposed it for very long enough. And I don't think my dark blacks were dark enough. So I went back through after printing this and having it fail, which I honestly just might cut it off here and just have a pretty print. I went back through and redid the darks and kind of went back through and darkened it up. So here's another print of that butterfly. And I also did the bubbles, and it kind of got a little weird, but it was a lot cleaner. Not my favorite, but it did work, so I got it. But that is one way of doing it. The other way that I have printed with the Duralar is with a photo. Now, I, don't tell my boss, might have almost broke the printer. Katie's eyeballing me right now. So I tried to print on these, because you should be able to print on Duralar. There is a way of doing it, just apparently not with the printer here at work. So don't tell my boss. Katie's already, but I didn't break it. I just got really close. So if you want to do an actual photograph onto a print, onto the Duralar, like a transfer, you can absolutely do that. Just go to like FedEx or Kinko's or Office Depot or Staples, one of those places that has like a printing process, and they'll do it for you. What you can do then is give them the photo, say I want the negative of this. They can handle it themselves, or you can just invert this image and have, this is not a negative obviously, but just have them do the opposite of that. Now instead of doing all of that, I was being really impatient, so I printed out the photo, and I decided to, wherever there was white, I just filled it in with black, and it gave me this, which is a really bizarre looking thing. But when you print it, it looks fantastic. Where did it go? Again, too many prints. Here we go. It worked really well. Now, granted, you can still see like my marker lines and everything, so it's gonna kind of give you a sort of an etching look, which is really quite cool. But I also did a couple of weird experiments. Again, this is where I was really trying to get the turmeric to work. It didn't work. It just looks like I antiqued my paper a little bit with some dirt. But regardless of the weird schmutz, I think the print turned out really, really well, and I think is a quite fun image that you can incorporate with the botanicals as well. But if you do want to do an actual photograph, you can have it printed on the Duralar very easily. Not a problem. Just don't let me do it. Okay, so that is the clear things. I also could not help myself because I wanted to write something. What I wanted to write, I had no idea. So I just did lorem ipsum, which if you know, you know. Something about it being handwritten and printed into this just tickles me pink. I don't know why, but it is just a placeholder text. It means nothing. But there we go. So if you have like grandma's recipes, this is really cute way of kind of preserving them. Something like that would be really, really cute. But I thought this was so adorable and probably will frame this and put it on my wall. But we are going to print with Peyton's hands. So this is a really fun way of incorporating your kids into this, whether you let them do it or you do it yourself. But I had Katie's little girl. Katie supervised, of course, obviously. She stuck her hands in paint and then she stuck it onto the Duralar, and I cut them out because, of course, they were wonky. And then I had her write her name. By I mean Katie, and Katie had her write it quite a few times. This was the best one, and it does say Peyton. That is a Y. That is a Y. She did a great job, and I'm really excited about this. So I'm going to take a piece of paper and kind of put them down and do something really cute for Peyton. Now I do need to move that so that I can put the glass on top of it once I'm done. And I think I want to have Peyton's name there. But this is a really cute way of preserving your kids' handprints and their handwriting, let's be honest, because something about little kid handwriting just is so fun. It's silly. But do we do, I think, little daisies or flat flowers? I think flat flowers are going to look better. Again, I really hope I can get them out of here. Oh, you know what? We're going to do flat daisies. How about that? Because that'll really print quite well. And I'm trying to grab my tweezers through the glass. I've been doing this a lot. Don't worry, it's fine. Okay, so we're just going to add in some cute little flowers. So, have we had anybody really excited about, like in the chats, about trying this? I really hope I'm inspiring you guys to give this a whirl. Timer. Okay, before we get to that, and you know what? I am going to just put this here so that it blocks the light from Peyton's hands. We're going to go grab our prints, our experimental prints. Don't look at the light. Okay. Again, I'm going to bring this back over and show you guys over here at the table so you guys can see what it looks like. All right. So again, this is what we're looking for. It needs to start almost turning brown, but you can see the bubbles and the rock salt is doing some really funky stuff. So this is actually still wet, which is kind of wild, but let's move this. And sometimes your glass gets a little gross, which is why I have the Windex. Glass cleaner, whatever you want to call it. Now, there's no saving these flowers. I would like to save them. It's not going to happen because that is what happens every time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just do that. And I have a trash can under here. Try and get that rock salt off. And quickly wash this. And see how our little experiment went. Now when you get it wet, it goes kind of funny. It's not exactly as like blue, but I do want to make sure I get all the salt off of there. It's not ideal. All right. ASMR. And then are we ready? This is the fun part. Ooh, that's really fun. Very funky. And then we're gonna rinse all the hydrogen peroxide off. And there we go. There's our print. You can see the rock salt. The little tiny pieces gave it a weird funky texture, but I think it works really well. Nice. All right, I want to put this over on paper towels that are buried under all the other stuff. Again, so many things. I'm going to actually leave that over there. And maybe move this around. Gotta dry it a little bit. Okay, now this is on the gray paper, so it's not gonna be super white, but you can see that weird kind of purpley blue, which is probably where the water and the salt were interacting with it. So fun, but you can't really control this. This is the part where that experimentation, like it sometimes goes kind of purple, sometimes it doesn't. It's wild. It's all very bizarre. All right, now this one, and then I'm just gonna dump this. Okay, put that up there. We're gonna rinse this guy off. All right, sorry. Keeping Ming on his toes today. All right. I think that's probably, we're gonna call it rinsed enough. And then time for the magic. Whee. There it goes, dark blue. Ugh. So fun. And then we gotta rinse it one more time. All right. And there is that experiment. You can sort of see a little bit of the bubbles, but let me dry it off and I'll show it to the overhead camera because I feel like it's just really dark over here. All right, let me dry it off. Sun printing inside. Okay. Paper towel's starting to get real wet. Okay, so here we go. You guys can see some of the little bubbles came through. I think that looks so cute. It does make, I will say the water and the bubbles when it becomes wet sometimes can affect the crispiness of those lines. Just because like where the daisies and the rock salt was still wet, it had a little bit of like a fuzziness to it. Here we go. This is where it is. You can see there. Like the edge of that is just not crispy, even though it should have been. It's just that water kind of warps it a little bit. That too. Just where you get a little bit less crispiness, but it's a really fun couple of prints with experiments. So, bubbles and rock salt, two of my highly favorite things. I'm gonna actually spare everybody the distilled vinegar because I feel like no one's senses are gonna recover from that. Now, back to the Peyton's hands. All right, Daisy, put that back. Add in a couple of these silly ones that are missing some petals. I like to do a little bit of overlapping. We put a couple in here. And here we go. These are the ones that have the breaks kind of right around the center of the flower. So that light's gonna get through there. And it's really gonna look so cute. I feel like we need a couple of small flowers though. And I think after that, are we good? Is this cute? Is it Katie approved? The question is it Peyton approved? Peyton's the one that's really gonna decide.
She's very discerning taste.
She does. If she doesn't like it, we'll know. I'll let you guys know in the chats if it doesn't get the Peyton stamp of approval. All right, I'm gonna put that over there. Okay, I think that is adorable. Hopefully her name prints clearly enough. Now, did anybody want to see a longer exposure or anything like that? It's like
More than 10 minutes.
more than 10 minutes, okay. I think with this one being with like a very thin writing, more than 10 minutes is gonna be good. We'll do 15. How about that? We won't go too crazy. I'm gonna lay that down. Nice and sturdy. Again, grab these binder clips. That way nothing moves. And I'm actually gonna undo that because her one hand moved and I don't like it. Darn it. We'll say, when you're picking your glass up, if you have flowers or like dried flowers or anything like that, be very careful. It likes to fly. I think, is that centered? I think that's centered. I'm looking at the screen to make sure. That looks right, okay. Don't move. feel like there's a lot of times when you're working with dried flowers like this, you just can't breathe. Okay, we're gonna expose this, and I'm gonna change the timer to 15 minutes. That looks good. Everyone avert your eyes. Don't look. Okay. Ta-da! Now it'll be exposed. Timer. Can't forget the timer. All right, we're gonna change it to 15 minutes. There we go. Ready. Okay, so that is going to be our kind of Duralar clear film prints. The other thing I wanted to show you before we officially move on to a break, and then we're going to do a little bit mixed media thing, is called masking. So I have a print here that I did of a bear, and it is kind of hard to see, but you can tell sort of where the edges are. Now what I did is I took this, laid it down, put on some flowers and things, exposed it, removed it and all the flowers, then I took the cutout, laid that down with some tape so it doesn't move, and then did more flowers, and then exposed that. So I'm going to do this, but I'm going to only do we do that? We'll do the double. We'll do a double. But I'm not going to do a bear because I already did a bear. I'm going to do a rabbit because it's adorable. Now, I am not going to be able to actually keep the little whiskers. I don't think that's going to happen just because of the fact that those little cutouts did not make it through the cut to get the little negative. Maybe I'll put a flower over top of it. I can maybe save it. I don't know. But that one, I do need a larger piece of glass for, and this needs to be cleaned because this is going to be a little bit big. Actually, you know what? If I use the dried flowers, I just won't clip it because that paper, this paper is going to extend past my glass. So that would be a problem with clipping. It's okay. We'll make it work. All right. I might need a little bit of cleaner for this. Always make sure your glass is clean because if you do have any kind of anything on here, there's always a potential that it will print and you won't be really happy if you have a really lovely print with some schmutz right in the middle that printed. And it's usually flower schmutz because it likes to just stick to the glass. All right. Let that dry a little bit. And we're gonna grab another piece of paper. And we're gonna do a little rabbit. Now, I do have the square on the back drawn in, and the reason why is because well, it's mostly the size of the paper. I'm gonna sort of center it on that because that's where my rabbit is centered, and that way it's gonna be straight on my paper. Because I did not want to print this and get it really wonky and crooked and like going off the page. That looks mostly straight. Good enough. And I'm going to tape it to the back here. And this is the Artist Pro Tape, so it is pH neutral. It won't have any kind of weird acidity to it, but it also is very easily removed, so it shouldn't tear my cotton paper. So I'm going to do that, and it's, again, I'm not gonna be able to clip it because it's just kind of too big for the glass in the backer, but this will just kind of help me sandwich it together. So actually, you know what I want to do? I'm gonna do some leaves. Let's do leaves. Leaves are cute. They're sort of in the back of this book here, I think. Yeah. Now, leaves tend to be pretty dense as opposed to flowers, where like sometimes the flowers, you can see the light through it. Leaves are pretty much very opaque, and they're not going to allow any of the light to go through, but they are quite cute as long as you don't rip them. There we go. We'll do that. I think that one's folded. It is folded. Might break off. Yep, it broke off. We're just gonna have that leaf going off. How about that? Haha. Like it never happened. And if you do have little leaves or anything break off like that, you can still very much keep the leaves. They still work, you know. I have so many leaves over here that have broken off. You know what? Let's do some of those like long stringy flowers too. That seems fun. Have it going up. I'll put like a leaf or something down there. Up and over like that. Or maybe I'll just block it with that. Haha. And maybe some up here. Something along those lines-ish. Or do I, maybe not. Feels a little dense. We'll do some thinner flowers so that that doesn't get too muddled. Because too muddled can be a thing. When you have just too much going on. I've done that before. Can you tell? Learn from my mistakes. Okay, I think that's good. And we'll allow that to just kind of sit with the glass on top. Oh, this is the other page. Oh no, did I just stick a page to a page? I did. Whoops. Katie's eyes just got real big. All right, again, it's just dried flowers, it's okay. I'll do that. And do we have any questions while we're waiting for exposure? So I think, how much time do we have? We have about 8 minutes. Do you want to take a 5-minute break and then we will come back and then rinse our things off and then we will expose our rabbit while I talk about some mixed media techniques on top of this. So we'll be right back.
Hello, we're back. All right, so my timer technically has not gone off. It has like 2.5 minutes left. I'm gonna just go ahead and rinse the little potato tot hands. So I'm gonna grab that and just swap out this one as well as those hands. So we're gonna do that, and then I'm gonna rinse that, and then I also got a brand new thing of water, so we're good. So let me, remember this one is not clipped, so I gotta be kind of careful, and also try not to look at the light. It's fine. I don't need eyes. There we go. Okay, let that expose. And then we're gonna take this back and we're going to rinse. I'm so excited about these. This is gonna be adorable. I did turn off my timer, right? Sure did not. Okay. Glad we did that. Oh, timer for the other one. This is, thank you. I'll just stick with 15 minutes. That'll be okay. Well, no, because this one's gonna be double exposed. So I'm gonna actually just stick with 8 minutes, and then I'm going to swap it out before it's over. All right, so Peyton's little hands, remove that. Oh my gosh, her handwriting. That is adorable. All right, we gotta rinse. Let's see. See how we did. All right, it's exposing. Looks great so far. Very excited about this. I feel like this is gonna be such a fun thing to do with my nieces and nephews as well, because they're from teenage all the way down to baby, so I feel like this is a good all-inclusive medium that everybody can do. Oh, that looks adorable. Okay, time for the magic water. That is so cute. All right, one last rinse. And now Katie has some art that Peyton and I made. Our first collaboration. Although I feel like, Katie, you helped us too. Let's be honest. That's so adorable.
Provided materials, she did.
Listen, you had to supervise. Supervision does count. That's really cute. Hopefully Peyton approves. All right, I got fresh paper towels. I just kind of just added it to the stack. Also dry off my hands.
So cute.
And the best part about this process is that Cyanotypes is so stable. So this is an archival process. So this is just gonna be, it's gonna stand the test of time. It won't fade over time. I know Jacquard also has something called Solar Fast, which is a similar sort of process, but that's dye-based, and this is more archival and a kind of long-lasting. But there is the Peyton hands, and I will put that aside for you, Katie. So cute. Now, granted, once that dries, maybe we gild it. I don't know. We can add some sparkle. I mean, does all of the little centers of the flower need to be gold leafed? Katie says yes. I feel like that is an immediate, absolutely. Because now that we have all of our kind of printing processes covered, although technically I did forget about one. I do apologize. I wanted to just show this process. It's not something I'm going to be able to do on camera for you guys, but I did want to talk about it. This is a really old piece of paper, and it was really hard to get that print to come through, which is why it's quite dark. But all of these are technically called photograms. but this is where you take like a bottle, and this was this one right here. You can see the little glass jar shape. I had that sitting on top of there with a flower in it, and I brought it out into the sunshine, and the light was hitting it at an angle that it kind of cast a shadow further. This was a little bit better, but this was where I also stopped covering the paper fully. I just did a couple swipes. This one I got a little experimental with the water and salt, but I don't think I exposed it for very long. This might have been 2 minutes in the sun. It just needed a little bit longer, which is okay. But this was the same kind of lilies that I have in the bouquet here. So you can get some really, really interesting prints with those. But this is called a photogram, where you are just essentially imprinting something onto the paper, which is the cyanotype process. But it is really fun. This is another experiment that I did do. This was a double exposure. So what I did is I coated the whole thing. I had a whiskey tumbler and a glass sitting right here, and I exposed it, and I didn't love it. But then I rinsed it off, did the hydrogen peroxide, let it fully dry, and then I coated the whole thing with the cyanotype solution again. And then you can sort of see where I double exposed with like the flowers. It, I think, can only get so dark before it can't absorb anymore. I want to say like that's going to be as dark as you can get it, really. But it was an interesting process. I think if you are going to double expose it, have more of like lighter areas, or areas that have more of like a transition, like where it has like the bright and then it has other little spots like that on both of the transparencies, or whatever you're exposing at the time. Because I think when it's just too dense like this is something that isn't completely successful, but it is a really good experiment to see how it works. So you guys can use this as inspiration, and just to know that it is a possibility. So this was something that I would love to do here, but I do need the sun for this process, because trying to set that light up to get it to cast a shadow is not easy, especially because you have to like angle it and try and get it at the, it's a whole thing. So now we can get into a more mixed media kind of situation. So I have a couple of examples here, one of which I wanted to do to the bear, because I think the bear needs a little help. I love how the bear turned out, and all of these prints, by the way, are fully dry. Before I do any mixed media technique on them, I let them fully dry. But this was watercolor with the waterproof technical pen, which I don't have up here, which I don't think I need. But I did want to touch a little bit of watercolor into this bear here. And of course, I only have a tiny little paintbrush. Can you grab me a Mimic Kolinsky? I'm sorry. A little smaller. Should be then yeah. That will be perfect. Thank you. I need all of the things. I just need all the help. All right, so I have my little Soho watercolors here, and of course I'm just going to use the water from here. It's fine. I don't need anything fancy. But I do want to touch some watercolor into the background of the bear. Before I do that, I have to rinse off this print. Actually, I take it back. I'm not rinsing it off yet. This is the part of printing. You have to kind of shove things to the side and stop it for a minute. Oh, because remember, I'm not rinsing this yet. We are going to expose the outside portion of it. So, and actually I can switch to the larger piece of glass now, which would be probably a little bit easier. So if I take these off of here, you can see our cute little bunny. I'm gonna actually just use the tweezers because that's a lot easier. That is adorable. I love that. Got a little bit of schmutz on there. All right. Although, actually, I'll ask you guys, should I expose the background kind of like I did here, or should I just rinse it now? Because this is the part of, I did use the Artfinity synthesis paper. So if I wanted to expose the background, all I have to do is line this up, tape it down, and then expose it again like this. So whatever is being blocked won't be exposed. But because this isn't like completely blocking out the light, you can sort of see a little bit of a haze. And I'm curious if that's going to come through. So I got 1 vote for rinse it. Amanda, what say ye?
Rinse it.
Rinse it. Okay, we're going to experiment. We're going to not expose the background. This might turn out super cute. It might turn out kind of weird. I don't know. Let's find out. Okay. Bunny. Ready? So the background should, in theory, completely rinse clean. That's adorable. Oh, I hope this stays nice and crispy. Eee. Okay, that was a good call. This is so cute. Who needs a series of animals? Because I might be doing this for the next month and a half. That is so cute.
It'd make the cutest nursery prints.
It would. Or just if you really love rabbits, you know. I have a friend who really loves rabbits. Okay. Now for magic. We're going to make it darker blue. Wow. Oh, that is so fun. Okay. And then one last rinse. That now has so much of that cyanotype solution in there. Again, nothing is toxic, but if you are worried about this, just wear gloves. The gloves in the process would be completely fine. But there we go. Oh my gosh, that's adorable. Okay, rinsing it was the right choice, I think. Okay, time to dry it off, and then, but you guys understand hopefully the process of the double, doing the foreground and then the background, or you can even honestly do vice versa. But having the cutout be available so that you can do one and then the next as a sort of double exposure. But Bunny, that's cute. That's really cute. All right, good call. I'm gonna throw that over there. Now, back to the bear. So, we are going to sort of pull the bear out of this print because currently it's a little lost. So, I'm actually, you know what? I'm gonna swap that because I have a double tray here. I'm gonna actually just use this as like my water. Because of course I forgot my water as well. But we're going to use a little bit of watercolor on here. I kind of want to go orange just because it's the opposite of blue and I think that's going to be really fun. But I don't think I want to. I think I want to stick with like the pinks and purples and potentially do that. Now, if I wanted to paint every single little flower back here, I can. I don't want to do that. I just kind of want to do a wash and leave it sort of abstracted. And probably stick with sort of that like unfinished edge kind of look. And do that. I don't want a hard edge, so I'll just kind of soften that a little bit. But just like that, that bear is starting to immediately come out. And I just stuck my arm in it. That's fine. All right. Do a little bit there. Pull this color over here. And we're also going to pull them down here to pull that the bottom of the bear out as well. Soften the edges a little bit. All right. And I do want to go kind of orange. I think it's going to look so pretty. Now I'm trying to avoid where their like dark blue is, but if it goes over top of it, I'm not too worried about it. This watercolor is so transparent that I don't think it's going to really affect it too much. Now if you use gouache, remember that is opaque, and that could definitely have a little difference of kind of how it would look, and would probably be a bit stronger. All right, we're going to kind of stick with the same kind of warm colors. Carve the leg out a little bit. And pull that color down. Sort of toning it is really all I'm doing. Part of me really wants to add that turquoise. You guys know I love a good turquoise. It's my favorite color, but I feel like just because it's so blue everywhere, it would get a little lost, and that is the opposite of what we are trying to do. Nope. Undo. All right. That is cute. And because this is a mixed media paper, it works really well with watercolor. Again, you can also use the Magnani watercolor paper if you just happen to have that. The New York Central watercolor paper is also really great. Now this is where it kind of carves in and then goes down. All right. Something like that. Do a little bit more yellow-ish, orange. And I think that really helps pull that bear out a little bit more, because now the unpainted areas is just where the bear is. Adds a little fun color too. Now, again, just a wash. If you want to go in and actually paint every single little leaf, or let that dry and then go in and paint more details in, you can absolutely do that and start doing more and more layers, which is really cute. Or also add gold leaf. I just want to add gold leaf to all of these. Gold leaf and this looks so good together. Speaking of, kind of the process of which I did here. And it looks so good. So I just did like a couple of the leaves in the gold, and then a couple of the lines on the outside, just to add a little pizzazz, and I tried to balance it on each corner. And then I just did a really fun watercolor wash because this was a very experimental print. You guys can see I did bubbles, I did some salt, I think I did the isopropyl alcohol when it was exposing. And these were actually the fresh daisies. I just put them upside down. So instead of having the full stem and like crushing it in there, I actually just ripped it off like that, took completely the stem off, and just put it down like that, and then just left it. And that's how I got all of these little shapes, which oddly enough, I think because I had gotten this wet to get the reaction from the salt, the little centers of the daisies kind of pulled the water and reacted that way as well. So it was a really interesting, fun kind of surprise, but I love the way that gold leaf looks. It just looks so good, so delightful. Okay, so this is watercolor with the pen, the technical pen, where I got very detailed. Again, I did the exact same thing where I had the flower kind of upside down like that. And I had, of course, after I done some printing with some of the other daisies, they fall apart. When you squish them, there is no structure to them anymore. So naturally, I kept all of the little petals and put them all over with a little fun design, and then had some leaves repeating that as well. And you could very easily do like floral mandalas, things like that. This would be a really fun, easy way to get some interesting art. And then once it's fully exposed, you can even do the watercolor and get really detailed, which is quite fun. Then, because I had to test it, I wanted to try pastel. This is dry pastel, which is why I'm trying not to touch it. But it goes on really, really well. This didn't expose well. It was kind of like this one. I might have honestly done them at the same time. So I left it in the sun for not enough time. And the background it's blue, but it's like, it's not quite defined enough. And I can see enough detail in there to sort of hint at what was going on. So with this one, I took pastels, soft pastels, not oil pastels, and just kind of carved out the shapes, and then just did a couple of scribbles, and it works really, really well, just to kind of redefine what was going on. So it was a quick little experiment and something that was really fun. Then, of course, I had to get funky and experimental. So again, I have the technical pen where I drew kind of some details in with the flower. And then I went in with our, what is our brand of acrylic marker? Creative Inspirations, that one. So I went in with the Creative Inspirations acrylic markers because I wanted to see how acrylic does on this as well. It worked so well, and it is such a fun coverage. So I could draw on top of it where I kind of repeated the petal shapes and just almost, it kind of looks like a bird wing now. Drew these big pink shapes, drew some scribblies, and kind of scribbled on top of the already existing print without obliterating what actually happened. So kind of incorporating the two. So this works really, really well as if you're just looking to kind of almost Zentangle, and after you do your prints and kind of mindlessly draw on top of something, it is a really fun way of, like, if you have creative block, it's a really great way of kind of removing that as well. This was another experimental print where I kind of threw everything at it. I have the bubbles, I had rock salt in here, I had gotten the whole thing wet. This was the turmeric, which not terrible in this, but this was where I realized when it's wet, you don't get those crispy edges. So it's one of those things that I really love the way that the bubbles look, but I think this was the Aqua Mist bottle. So while I loved it, I was a little bummed that that wasn't as crispy as I wanted it to be. But again, all the things that I can fix with a mixed media. And I honestly think that is all of my little experimentations. The last thing I have before we officially I think are done for the show is to see exactly how much this is exposed the entire time that we've been on the show. Now, granted, I definitely dripped something on there. I have no idea what I dripped on there, but there's a bit of water that got dripped on there. I think it's water. I don't know. Something happened, but let's see. The entire show, which has been 2 hours. So this is what happens if you leave your paper out for X amount of time. So it looks oddly faint, but we're gonna rinse it. We're gonna see how it goes. All right. Essentially nothing. Which is also okay because I can still use this piece of paper. Now that I'm rinsing all of the cyanotype solution off of here, this isn't a piece of throwaway paper. I can still use it for art. It's not the end of the world, but you can see it's so faint, but it will start to have a reaction. But it's been in, you know, not sunshine for 2 hours, but a studio with lamps and everything on. So let's just see if there's any difference here. I don't think there's gonna be much. Nah, okay. But that's okay. I was just curious. I wanted to see how much more it would expose. Now, if I just left it in here all day, every day for a while, it would officially fully expose, but you can sort of see like a ghost of it, and that's where the stem was touching it. So like the stem itself had some kind of reaction as well as my water drip. But there you go. So now I know I don't have to panic every time I'm in the studio and walking around with these papers in my hand. It's not going to expose that much. Now again, your studio might be different than mine. Again, we also have some of the overhead lights off and different lights are on. And it could be a totally different situation with the other lights on. But yeah, just a little ghost image. You can sort of see it there. That's wild. But it did have some effect. So curious, and I did it. That, my friends, was Cyanotypes. Kind of a quick rundown with all kinds of different media. If you are interested in doing any additional media, or if you have any questions about that, because I know I just touched base on a few things that I put on there. I will say I do know that I mentioned at the beginning of this, I mentioned oils. I have a Jerry's Live show where I did explain how to prep paper for oil painting. So if you're interested in adding oil paints on top of your cyanotypes, it is possible. I would highly suggest you go back and watch that show because I have all of the information on how to do that over there. But that was just a caveat that I was like, you can if you want to, but you can use any other water-based media on this, no problem whatsoever. And cyanotypes are archival, so it's just going to stand the test of time without any kind of a fading or issue there. So I hope you guys had a lot of fun watching me make a ton of prints and going through all the things that I've done. I hope I have inspired you. I, again, still need a little bit of inspiration on what to do as I pull 15,000 prints on this. I don't know what I want to do. I need help. Somebody give me ideas. So please put those in the comments. I do appreciate you guys watching. It was so much fun. And of course, if you have any questions in the future, again, put them as a comment. I always go back through and answer those questions or comments or your help with the inspiration. But that was the show. I hope you enjoyed it. And of course, next month, Michaelia will be back on. She's going to be doing a mixed media with pastels, which is really interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, she's doing both types of pastels. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. She's doing oil and soft pastels together, which is wild. It hurts my brain, but she's got it. It's going to be such a good show. I hope you guys join us. And that was everything. I'll see you guys next time.